is ripping.
My tummy hurts.
Pretty good right now.
What's going on, guys? Nick with Off the Chart Trading. I will be doing tonight's video for Tuesday, December 21st. My apologies for not doing one on Thursday. As everyone already knows by now, my whole family has had COVID. The worst of it was the middle to the beginning of last week. But Thursday I laid in bed, put my son down, and I was going to do the video after I put him down. And then I woke up Friday morning. So yeah, anyway, we're pretty good overall. I think we're at the end of it. So nothing too serious for us, thank God. But other than that, let's just dive right in. So pretty solid day, complete 180 from yesterday. It was looking like we could end up building out lower and potentially breaking, below these lows and maybe continue to 4,500, because I think that would have been the next level. Just eyeballing, me, I don't give exact. I just kind of look for different areas of where we either went fast or went slow before, or kind of slowed down, and that would be right around here, the beginning of December. Didn't seem like we wanted to break below 4,500 and at least hold below it. So I thought it was safe to say that. I mean, we came pretty close, I think within like 15 points or so, but I figured we'd, go out near the lows and then potentially open up lower if that's where the market wanted to go. And then, like I said, today, just a complete 180. And we did have some pretty strong buying into the end of yesterday. And we'll take a look at that, because it looks a little different on the profile as far as, where these candles start and where they end, because we are looking at the futures contract. So I think it looks cleaner and I guess easier to look at on the profile. So we'll end on the profile tonight. But ES is looking good. Candles went green, basically meaning that price is above all the EMAs that I follow. Squeeze is still intact. I mean, you did have the previous day where momentum shift lower, but here we are back technically higher today. So overall looks pretty good, setting up for potentially higher prices. So I was talking about in the room today, I mean, there's really not that many catalysts. I mean, earnings is pretty much done for the end of the year. Nike's was really solid. Well, I shouldn't say really, but pretty darn good considering the supply chain issues and bottlenecks and all that stuff. And then also a surprise with MU. So those are the two big ones from the other day. But other than that, everything's, I think, pretty solid. I don't think Omicron Perseid 8 is going to be a serious concern for the markets. I think it's going to be shrugged off unless obviously the data changes, which that can happen. But when it's spreading like wildfire and, you hear about maybe one person a day passing away from it, at least that's what's alerted to us during the day. Not that that's not serious, but it's not, market moving serious. So I think the markets, I think COVID in general going into 2022 will not be as a buzzword or just that sting. Oh, more COVID. I think it's, we're 2 years into this now. And I think with the majority of people vaccinated and every variant that's coming, I mean, Delta was a little more serious. But anyway, my 2 cents is I don't think that word will be used, kind of like it'll become like the flu in that sense. Just my own opinion. But we'll just have to see how it goes. But ES looking really good. If that squeeze does end up firing long, I wouldn't be shocked if we see more all-time highs. Will that happen this year? I don't know. Like I said, initially when we did end up getting that 47, 43, 25, I think that was the previous day after Powell's comments and stuff. If you guys remember watching videos from about 2 weeks ago, I was just eyeballing like 47.50, and to me that's pretty darn close. So will we see all-time highs? I mean, we ended up having 80-something point today. Who's to say we don't do something similar tomorrow? Mainly getting back into here, or maybe if anybody is still short over the last I don't want to even say week or so trading wise, then maybe they would cover, and then that would be enough to push us to all-time highs, because we're really obviously not that far, about 100 points or so. And once again, if we can make 80-something points in a day, who's to say we don't see that before the end of this week? And obviously keep in mind it is a shortened week because of the holiday, so the market is closed on Friday. But let's take a look. Honestly, I didn't really look in depth too much today. NQ also, the squeeze not as clean, but it has been in a squeeze for this entire month, basically. Yeah, basically since the end of. I don't really count that one dot switch, but I'll still just, for argument's sake, say that the NQ's been in a daily squeeze for this entire month so far. Not looking as good. Obviously, the price action today was pretty solid, but still below the EMAs. It did break above its 50. It is holding its 50. So I think that is important. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but this is also kind of setting up that if, momentum is shifting higher and the rest of the indexes pull through, then I wouldn't see why the NQ wouldn't end up following. Normally the NQ leads when it comes to those types of big moves, so we'll just have to see what tomorrow and the rest of this week has in stock. But it's setting up for a big move one way or the other, and just seasonality. I think majority, like I said, the Fed's kind of been super transparent in exactly what they are going to do. So I think that's already, it has to be factored in. So that's kind of like we can give it a check. We just talked about COVID, so that's another check. Last one is the whole Build Back Better thing. I don't know personally if that's going to be market moving or not, one way or the other. I think it was factored in that it was going to get passed and all that, I guess, I don't know the right word to use, stimulus, money being injected into the economy, whatever you want to call it. I think that was factored in for certain stocks, and if it doesn't go through those, specific stocks that might benefit from it, might get affected. But I don't think it will be, NQ down 20% or 10% or 5% or something if it doesn't end up getting passed. Or maybe they go back and forth and it still gets passed, but certain things are removed from it. We'll see. But I think that's the only thing right now. There's always a catalyst. There's always a spotlight, laser pointer when it comes to what's going on, and there's not really many things. So when there's really no reason for the markets to go one way or the other, I think naturally it would just float up. So just obviously a lack of sellers will cause that. So anyway, NQ not looking as good as the ES, but still pretty nice price action today. Dow as well, if I'm not mistaken, had similar action. Yeah, so it's still below its 50. It's still below most of the EMAs, still below the 34 because it's still red. But obviously similar pattern on all of them. Not as good as the ES. I was actually really impressed with the Russell today personally. I wouldn't say a lot of the stuff I'm in it might be in the Russell, but I think the majority of the stuff is just that I'm in is risk on, I call it. As far as that, and out of the corner of my eye, I'm just seeing that squeeze has no longer fired. So that is noteworthy. Yesterday, there was a dot here. Keep in mind, this is a weekly chart, so this will still go till Thursday afternoon. So we're back into the squeeze. So this thing's been in the squeeze since May. The high compression one did fire. We did end up seeing all-time highs, but the regular one has not fired. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. I looked at it yesterday and looked at it today, and I'm just noticing it went back to red. So hasn't officially fired short yet, even though it was looking like it was going to. But pretty solid day in the Russell, also entering a daily squeeze. Momentum is shifting higher, so definitely something to keep an eye on. I think that's good overall if money is flowing into risk-on trades. We talked about in previous videos, like obviously once it hit its all-time high, it kind of lagged, and we saw this action when everything else was still looking pretty good in the rest of the indexes, and then the rest of the indexes followed. So we'll see. Maybe the Russell will lead us back up, or at least come up to its 50. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But that is the indexes. We can take a look at the internals. Overall solid day. I mean, pegged advanced declines. I've actually mentioned that almost right out of the gate. We did see a little bit of selling, the first, I want to say hour and a half. It was kind of, you could obviously feel it, but it wasn't severe. I don't think we had a single negative 1,000 tick. No, lowest one was negative 759. So not a single 1,000 tick. And it just didn't really feel like there was anything, it felt orderly. It felt like it was, people pushing it down. And obviously when that failed, we ended up going higher. Like I said, the Russell, I did mention that in Slack today. I don't remember exactly what time. I want to say probably around 11:30. Just mainly as a reference of, because the NQ was still either red on the day or flat, and the Russell was up like 2% or something. So there was a big disconnect between the NQ and the Russell. And I typically say, if there is an index leading, if it is stronger, that's where money's flowing. That normally doesn't just stop. So if, the Russell's strong, it typically will get stronger. And vice versa. If there was one where there might have been weakness, and, getting Q puts or something would have made the most sense, because shorting what's already weak, typically leads to being, weaker on the day. Once the first couple hours are in the 11:30, 12 o'clock, it kind of sets the tempo. It doesn't mean that it doesn't change, but if that price action and the internals are confirming either lower prices or higher prices, you kind of just pick the one that looks the fastest and then go with it. It doesn't work all the time, but it worked today. I know some people made, I think most actually in the room from just eyeballing in the chat, see most people played the SPY today, but I know some people made some money in the IWM, and like you can see, just since the open, it was just straight up. So it kind of avoided some of that selling pressure that we saw early on with the NQ. And you can just see in the candles too, there, most of this day, there wasn't really anything from right about, obviously, there from the volume. So NQ was the weakest today, but it did turn around and get pretty strong into the close with the rest of the markets. Like I said, pinned advanced declines. Trend is getting low, something to keep an eye on when you get below that 0.50, 0.4, something to pay attention to. Put call ratio has also come off. I mean, it was in the 70s, like I think even yesterday. So for it to be back to the low fives, mid fives, that is something to pay attention to. I would still consider that fairly balanced. It's not leaning one way or the other. It's definitely not as bearish as it was, and just the way I have videos on all this stuff on the website for members, but just using that scale how I use it, anything below 0.40. And I mean, a lot of people are slowly becoming more bullish, and just think of a scale. And then when you get those extreme readings of 0.2 or 0.3, everyone and their mother's mother is long the markets. And when you run out of buyers, slows down for a day or so, and then you end up seeing some selling. So, and vice versa, when you get up to 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, a lot of people are bearish. It's not sustainable, and then obviously we do end up getting a rip. So I think that's why it's so important to use internals, not making a judgment off of one point, but when you combine all of this information together, it does make it easier to build that foundation. Just think of Legos or a puzzle. The more pieces you have, the easier it is to kind of complete it, even if you're missing some, because there's never ever a clean complete picture of the market. But just for an analogy, there's 100 pieces. If you got 25 or 30, you can kind of get, it's a kitty cat, it's a rainbow. You can kind of get an idea of what the picture might be, even if you're missing pieces. So that's just the way I approach the markets, and it's worked for me over the last few years. So anyway, oil was pretty solid. The yen was lower, which is good. Bonds kind of sold off for most of the day, and then kind of started rebounding as well, almost kind of mirroring the NQ. So that is something to pay attention to. I'm just looking up real quick to see if there's anything worthwhile to talk about on my ETFs. I'm not really seeing anything. It was pretty broad today as far as the buying. I don't really see anything that's like, this was down, or, this one was leading the pack. I mean, everything looks like it was pretty much from the bottom left to the top right of the screen. So just a nice trend higher, and definitely money going into everything, not as, a few select things. So definitely something that's bullish in that sense. I think that's, actually no, I figured maybe every video or so, if there's one or two things that I like that I'm personally in, that I can maybe either introduce somebody to, or a ticker, maybe I'll pick a ticker or two throughout the day to talk about, so there is something outside of the broader look. QSI is one I've been in for a little while. This one's actually pretty solid. We got, I think, up to like 850 or something today. It was 840. And it's been kind of being down. I didn't see anything specific about it, but I mean, at the highs is up almost 30%. And that's what I try to talk about sometimes, is, especially depending on your buy-in. Because this one I bought when it was, I can't remember, was it CMLF, I think was the SPAC, or something equivalent for this one. And I bought it, I think, at $12.50, $13, because I like the idea of the company. And per most of these types of stocks, it's just been bleeding out and getting as low as $5 and change. So I averaged down. I did cut the position in half, whether you want to call it tax loss or just taking the hit, but lowering my average in the same thing at the same time. So I got my average down to like 820 or something, 830. So pulled back a little bit after its initial move. But it was, like I said, you could be red. I've been red in this thing for months, because I just recently ended up lowering my averages. Initially, I think like 980 or something. And then boom, today I'm basically back to break even. So what does tomorrow have? I mean, look at the amount of volume today. And like I said, I don't think there was anything specific. So maybe somebody big getting into it. I don't know the short interest on it. But, one to take a look at. it's in the realm. I think it's the same CEO we're talking about in the room today. It was Butterfly and was it Hyper, not Hypersonic, whatever it is, the portable MRI machine. So this guy does touch a lot of different stocks and seems to be pretty smart. So we'll see. But definitely one QSI to take a look at that stock. Definitely one you want to look at and obviously make up your own mind if it's something you want to look at, whether it's a trade. Who's to say it's not at $10 tomorrow? Because typically when a stock is up 20-30%, there might be some follow through the following day. But do your own due diligence. Obviously, it's not financial advice, but this might be one even at this price, $7-8, to potentially put into an account and not look at it for 5 or 10 years. You never know. But that's one I do like. The other one that's cool, because I kind of like invest in stuff that I think is cool, or I think it might be either the future or something that, no one's really talking about on CNBC or any of these other things is was it Sarcos or whatever it is, robotics. This one's really cool. They have government contracts. I think of, like I said, maybe a little bit of nerd showing, but StarCraft, the Goliath. So like a mech suit, they have those and stuff that can help move very heavy things. You have somebody basically in these suits being able to lift hundreds of pounds. So I've been in this one a while. This used to be, what was it? Shoot, I'm forgetting. It was R something. ROT was the SPAC. And I think I got back in like May or something. I've been in this one, and like every SPAC that doesn't end up merging right away just sits around $10. And I think my average was 9 something. And I bought a little more shares, got my average down to like 820 or 815 or something. But anyway, another one, solid day, up 10% today, and has that squeeze setting up, technically fired long, and this one might be breaking out. And that's the thing, is you could be red for weeks and months, but it only takes a day or two to end up having these move. And it's nice when they do end up moving, because it is, kind of sucky when it goes down to, and that's the thing too. I tell people in the room that anybody has a longer term, like, if you like it, why would you want to buy when something's breaking out? Why would you? And I'm not saying it's not a bad price. Like I said, my average initial was like $9.90, and I got it down to the low 8s. But my point is, why wouldn't you buy it if you like it at 6? Oh, no one wants to touch it. Well, that's when you want to buy. It's literally flipping the script. Sell at $11.80 or something and buy at $5.95, because if you did buy in the 6s and 7s in the last couple days, you've been rewarded. So you have that squeeze setting up. And anyway, I like this one long term too. So I figured I'd talk about at least 2 or 3. So I guess stock ideas, not so much for trades, but one of those, what I'm personally doing is buying and holding for a few years just to see how it goes. But both those had pretty solid days, so I figured I would talk about them. I guess we'll take a look at the profile. Pretty solid. Like I said, once Friday's action, which wasn't the best, we did end up having some of that selling in the morning. And then we did kind of go out, not at the lows, but in the middle, lower range. And then obviously Monday we had the gap down, Unicron fears and all that other kind of stuff. And it was looking not too hot. And then, towards the last hour or so, we ended up, going out literally at the highs of the day. So you really can't get more bullish than that. I mean, VPOC and everything was still lower, and most time spent was down here, but profile doesn't look, amazing. But as far as where price can go out at, I can't think of a better place than going out at the high of the day. And then you had overnight action, basically opening up and kind of all over the place. You can see deep here and H period throughout the night. Once again, this starts as of right now from 4:15 on. I still need to switch it to 5 o'clock. Well, technically be 6 o'clock on. But this should build out till 5, but it stops at 4:15. But I don't think it really makes much of a difference when it comes to the bigger picture, and that's kind of what the profile, at least how I look at it. How is it building out? Where are we spending the most time? So anyway, opened up, came back down a little bit, but we ended up, opening up all the way down up here. Like I said, we did see a little bit of selling in the first, hour and a half of the day, but we didn't end up coming down and filling the gap. Came pretty close. I mean, literally, what is that, a point and change? Not much volume at the lower part. It was only during one TPO period, which is C period. And then it ended up coming back up. Good amount of volume in certain areas, but as you can see, it got pretty bullish. And then once again, VPOC at the highs, going out near the highs of the day. So definitely very bullish in that sense, and a complete 180 from the previous day in the sense of where we were at the lows and then where we're at. I mean, you're literally talking over a 100-point move, much more than that, with like 140 points, whatever it is. Because we got what was the lows? Got down to what, like 45? Yeah, 45.20. So I mean, that's a pretty big move in a day. So, but yeah, pretty solid. Like I said, profile looks good. Here we are overnight, accepting those prices as of right now. I'm looking at the corner of my eye, ES down 3 points, so nothing too crazy. But if this move, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I mean, after a big move, you might see balance. But so far, it is building out. I mean, it's, what time is it? Almost 8 o'clock, and here we are 2 hours in, and it's just been building out around where we went out. So that's overall, I think, pretty bullish as well. So we'll see. Maybe, like I said, we'll build out, stay within a 10, 15 point range overnight, and then just see where we open. Maybe we see a little bit of a pullback. I would look for us to potentially hold on to halfback if we do end up seeing some selling tomorrow. So that might be a level of importance, 46.0725. Like I said, it's literally just cutting the entire day in half and putting the basically, as it's called, halfback right in the middle. You got VWAP right there, but that would be something I would pay attention to. I don't know if we're going to come that low after having such an amazing move, but that's almost 30 points, and the way we've been moving, 50 points one way, 80 points the other. Trading sideways into tomorrow might make sense. Sideways to up, I think, would make the most sense. And we've had issues around 4,700. We can't really seem to close above 4,700 and actually see follow through. We attempted it a couple times over here, and then new all-time highs after the whole Fed thing, and then just not able to hold it. So if we can close above 4,700, then I would be shocked if we don't end up seeing new all-time highs before the end of the year, which we got, exactly, just about a week and a half. Yeah, because Friday we're closed. So not many trading days. What do we have? Like I said, I keep thinking, it feels like Wednesday. I don't know why, but what do we have, like 7 trading days left? So not really that many, 8. So we'll see. But once again, when the markets can move 80 points in a day, who's to say we can't just go up another, 80 points and then be basically close to at all-time highs. And then, like I said, if we can tomorrow and into Thursday, I think the goal will be to try to get to 4,700 and actually hold and close above it. And then that might set us up for an end-of-year rally into next week, and then potentially take out the highs, 4,750 again. Maybe a stretch would be 4,800, and then end the year on a high note. Obviously, it can change. We can see selling tomorrow, so it's nice to have all this on a piece of paper and be like, all right, we'll go here, but that's not how the markets work. So it's always good to have, an idea where you think something will go, but be the first to realize that you're wrong and be able to change course, on a whim. But anyway, video's already 23 minutes long, so I am going to end it there. As always, if you guys have questions, feel free to go to the site, send us an email, and join us on Facebook. As always, hopefully it's helpful, and I will catch you guys at the next one. Have a good night.